Part 62. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyubuletin Chigwa. Chapter 614. Soon. The fonts on the scarlet panel kept emerging. Copy designated. It is detected that the player is wearing the title of Dungeon Collapser, and the game becomes more difficult. If a player is detected wearing the title Ghost Seeing Sorrow, the copy will have a certain chance of mutating. It is detected that the player is the Nanjiang District Manager, and the copy will open certain permissions to the player. The copy is loading. You have completed the match. Copy, the School Beauty's personal bodyguard. Content, every movie is a journey of winning in life. Only by managing each role carefully can you go further on the road of ghost life. Try playing other roles and explore more possibilities. Number of players, 50. Main mission, complete the plot mission of the role played until one side wins. Side mission. Task tip, be careful, there are eyes peeking at everything. Difficulty, 5 stars. Warning, this copy is a movie world and cannot be left. As the scarlet panel flashed by, the scene in front of him has also undergone earth-shaking changes. Shen Jian opened his eyes. I found myself in a quiet alley, with no one around. Shen Jian frowned slightly. He looked down at his appearance. The clothes were stained with blood, the trouser legs were covered with dust, and the clothes looked torn and messy. Is he being hunted? At this time, the scarlet panel flashed. It has been detected that the player has entered the movie world and the player's current identity has been activated. Player, King Yama. Identity, a nobody from the Temple of Heaven. Terror level, red level. Current status, cursed toxin in the body, yin qi is dissipating all the time, strength is reduced to 10%, there is no cure, right arm is broken, left leg is broken. Shen Jian? He was slightly startled. No. Are you playing with me? How can there be an injured start? With this injury, I'm afraid he may not be alive soon. Is this Thriller's revenge on him? He has been playing the game for so long, but he has never seen a dungeon with its own difficult start. Not to mention fractures or anything like that. A cursed toxin has caused incurable supernatural effects. You can imagine how terrifying this supernatural toxin is. That's him, so it's okay. Otherwise, if it were any other player, he would have to start here. It would be hard for him to believe that this was not the Revenge of Thriller game. Shen Jian narrowed his eyes slightly. It seems that the supernatural events in Longwen Mountain and Cleopatra have offended this small-minded horror game too much. Not only did they blatantly target him in the Pyramid Dungeon, but now they even intensified their efforts, causing him to start the game injured. The meaning of targeting is already obvious. See this. The corners of Shen Jian's mouth raised slightly. He just liked the annoyed look of the horror game trying to kill him but not being able to do so. This means that the horror game is at its wit's end. At least within the dungeon, it would be difficult for the opponent to target him through other means. The only choice was to let him play a role that was about to end. Add trouble to him. At this time, another line of scarlet words appeared. It is detected that the player is the Nanjiang District Manager and certain permissions will be opened for the player. Players can browse the movie cast list and the general plot summary. Check it or not. Check. Movie title, The School Beauty's Personal Bodyguard. Content summary, the protagonist Lin Yan was taken up the mountain by his master since he was a child. 18 years later, on the day when he was promoted to the top Ghost King, he was ordered to go down the mountain to protect his ill-fated school beauty fiancée. On the way, he established the Temple of Heaven, but discovered an evil organization, Yin Cao. After a battle, the protagonist is promoted to Ghost and God, defeats the master of Yin Cao Palace, and transcends the world. Personnel list, protagonist Lin Yan. Note, this movie is for reference only, the specific plot has not been established yet. Finished reading. Shen Jian couldn't help complaining about how old-fashioned the King of Soldiers routine was from 10 years ago. Could this world-weary ghost find inspiration from this type of novel? There is also the evil organization CAO. He, the lord of the underworld, felt a little offended. Shen Jian's mouth twitched slightly. Skip these summaries. I read the relevant introduction about myself. Player, King Yama, Ghost Slayer. Identity, a nobody from the Temple of Heaven. Strength, red level, drops white level. Plot summary, while performing a mission to assassinate Judge Yin Cao from the Heavenly Temple, he was unfortunately infected with a supernatural toxin. His yin qi was severely lost, and he was about to die. He turned to the Heavenly Temple for help, but was told that his strength was low and he was not worthy of being rescued by the Master of the Heavenly Temple. In the end, die in the streets and alleys. Evaluation, a nobody with only one name. Shen Jian. There's not even a plot, and it's really the first time that I start with this identity. Understand the current situation. Shen Jian couldn't help but frown. The supernatural toxin has no effect on him, and there are no fractures or anything like that, but the problem now is that he has no plot. In other words, he only needs to wait until the outcome is decided between the Temple of Heaven and Yinko, where the protagonist is, and he can successfully clear the dungeon. But this is not his style. His purpose here is very obvious. 1. Recover dragon energy. 2. Reclaim Luo Fengtian's authority. 3. If you are lucky, you can also harvest some moneyless ghosts needed to unlock the hungry ghost path. These 3 points, in no particular order, all need to be completed. Just thinking about it? A gentle voice came from the next alleyway. Go away. I have already informed the law enforcement officers. If you don't want to spend the rest of your life in a ghost prison, just get out of the way. The voice was soft in tone, but now it increased in intensity and seemed a little anxious. Shen Jian was startled. Walk over and take a look. In the alley next door, there were 3 fierce ghosts in red with ferocious faces surrounding the 2 female ghosts. The young female ghost was wearing a mini skirt and looked a bit younger. She should still be a female college student. Shen Jian took a look. Not interested. Skip. The other one is a female ghost who looks a bit older. She has excellent appearance. She looks to be in her 30s. She is wearing a white coat. Her skin is as fat as jade and her eyes are like stars. 3,000 black hairs are draped behind her head like a waterfall. There is only a simple wooden hairpin on her head. Pull lightly. Inside the open white coat, you can see a similarly plain white corset that fully exposes her graceful figure. It is paired with the unique temperament of a holy hand and a healing heart and the mature style that should be expected at this age. It seems that the youth is unrivaled and the charm is still there. Shen Jian's eyes moved slightly. Ghost Dr. Suji. Level, red level. Introduction. The protagonist Lin Yan's mother runs a small medical clinic. She is a well-known ghost doctor. She has the reputation of holy hands and healing heart. She has been turned into a living bodhisattva by many evil ghosts. She cannot improve her own medical skills and cannot cure more evil ghosts. I feel distressed, miss my son, and feel overflowing with maternal love. Current status, angry, anxious, determined. Favorability, 0, unfamiliar. Shen Jian was shocked. The protagonist's mother. He remembered. According to the plot of his character, the reason why he came here was to find this ghost doctor for treatment, but he died on the way here. Little did he know that this ghost doctor was the mother of the master of their heavenly temple. Think of this. Shen Jian couldn't help but click his tongue. Looking at the scene in front of me, I seemed to have thought of something. A smile appeared on his face. Then walked over. The situation is now clear. Three ghost gangsters robbed the young female ghost, either for money, sex, or both. As for the protagonist's mother, as a doctor, she naturally couldn't leave her alone, so she stopped in front of the girl and was surrounded by three red-clad ghosts. Although he was not helpless, he could not withstand the attack of three ghosts in red. Think of this. The expression on Shen Jian's face became increasingly weird. He has no plot tasks now and can create derivative scripts at will. In his opinion, conquering the protagonist's mother seems to be an excellent choice. Just right. He still needs a place to live. As soon as this thought came out, it was out of control. Then Shen Jian strode forward. There is no rush to remove the supernatural poison. Instead, he scolded, "Let that girl go." At the same time, because Shen Jian's scolding attracted the attention of the five ghosts in the audience, the three ghost robbers turned around. One body was bloated, like fat, supporting his body, which was 2 meters high. One is so white that it is so transparent that under sunlight, one can faintly see its internal organs through its grimace. The last one seemed to be the boss, his face was bleeding, and his terror level was the highest in the audience, reaching the level of a top redcoat. Saw Shen Jian coming. The three ghosts were instinctively startled. Anyone who dares to meddle in other people's business here is usually a tough guy. However, the moment I met Shen Jian, the three ghosts were silent. The man who made the sound had blood-stained clothes and tattered clothes everywhere, as if he had suffered some fatal danger. He also exuded the aura of supernatural toxins and looked like he was about to die soon. Three ghosts. They looked confused. "No, man. Do you dare to imitate others and act like heroes to save beauties? What's going on? Don't even look at the sickly state you are in now. Who will save whom later? If you were walking on the road, we would all suspect that you were a cheater." The bleeding ghost stared at Shen Jian with evil intentions and said in a sinister tone, "Brother, even if a hero saves a beauty, you have to look at your own situation. You look like you are so sick. I will kill you later. No, he will pass the curse on to us." Hear this. The other two ghosts also laughed sinisterly. "Step forward." It seemed that he wanted to stop Shen Jian and play tricks on this sick man. "Good Samaritan, thank you for your kindness, but you should leave here and call the police. I have notified the law enforcement officers. You run now and find the law enforcement officers to give them directions and let them come over. See this." The ghost doctor Suji on the other side also said anxiously. She is a ghost doctor, and her medical skills are only one step away from those of famous doctors. In terms of disease insight, he has reached the level of a famous doctor. She could tell at a glance that Shen Jian was infected with a very rare curse toxin. As time went by, the yin qi would dissipate faster and faster until he completely died. It won't be of any use to the situation here. It is better to let the other party leave and go find rescue. Hey, leave, have you asked us? The three ghosts spoke at the same time. The supernatural force belonging to the red-clothed level ghost swept the whole place. He showed a ferocious and twisted grimace, staring straight at Shen Jian. As if to say, everyone present today cannot leave. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yubuletin Chi Gua. Chapter 615. At this time, the atmosphere in the alley was a bit solemn. The three red-clad ghost bandits showed ferocious eyes, staring directly at the sick man in front of them who was a hero saving the beauty. They were laughing at Shen Jian's overestimation of his abilities. A sickly man who was poisoned by a curse and fell down at the slightest touch dared to show off his power in front of three of their red-clad fierce ghosts. If this didn't help them, it would ruin their reputation as gangsters. They decided. Later, in front of Shen Jian, the sick man, he violated the two female ghosts on the opposite side, letting the sick man watch all this but could do nothing. Finally, you can also say something heart-wrenchingly, so moist. They wanted to see if Shen Jian would directly attack his heart and blood and die on the spot. Think of this. The eyes of the three ghost gangsters became even more distorted. Malice pours out. To this, Shen Jian narrowed his eyes. He was thinking about what to do next. A simple heroic rescue of a beauty may be effective for the young female ghost, but it has little effect on the ghost Dr. Suji. After all, the other party is also here to save people, not to be saved. According to the normal plot development, even if he didn't take action, nothing would happen to the protagonist's mother. From this point of view, simply saving people may not gain much favor. Then, Shen Jian thought about the cursed toxin on his body and the condition of his injuries. Think about it. He had an idea. The next second, Shen Jian raised his hand. The 7 ghost eyes on the back of his hand suddenly opened. A scarlet ghost realm spread, covering everyone. Then, the 2 female ghosts who were surrounded immediately disappeared and appeared behind him. See this. Everyone present was shocked. Ghostland. For ghosts below the Ghost King, the Ghost Realm is a very rare supernatural power that only appears in a few ghosts. And the terrifying level of ghosts with Ghost Realms is far higher than that of normal ghosts. It's really a tough time. Etc. The 3 ghost gangsters suddenly reacted. It's not right. This sick ghost is in very bad condition now. It's hard to say whether it can maintain its red level strength. Even if it has a ghost domain, how long can it last? I'm afraid this is not a desperate attempt. Think about it this way. Next moment. As expected, the Scarlet Ghost Realm dissipated, and the ghost eyes that maintained the Ghost Realm slowly closed. He looked like he couldn't maintain his supernatural powers. See this. They showed sinister expressions again. No way, little brother, you are such a 3-second man, this is too vain, you can't really be such a vain ghost. Hey, I almost pissed myself because I didn't expect it to be just a silver wax gun tip. Why do you think you are a good ghost these days? Good ghosts will not have a good death. Said. They walked towards Shen Jian stiffly. His eyes were full of greed. Ghosts eat people, and ghosts also eat ghosts. If they can eat the sick ghost with a ghost realm, their terror level may be greatly improved. If you can inherit the ghost domain, you will make a lot of money. In the face of such temptation, even the 2 female ghosts were temporarily forgotten by them. Thus focusing on Shen Jian. The other side. Seeing that Shen Jian could use the ghost realm, Ghost Dr. Suji was overjoyed at first, and then her expression changed drastically. Because she also saw that Shen Jian was pretending. Expanding the ghost realm but being unable to maintain it for a few seconds is a sign of imminent death. However, just when she was about to speak, Shen Jian had already taken the lead and said, "You leave here now, I won't be able to stop you for long, go find rescue quickly." Say it. Shen Jian rushed forward. See this scene. Ghost Dr. Suji's heart trembled. This man, whom they had never met before, actually planned to use his own life in exchange for their escape. Are there such selfless good ghosts in this world? This moment. She suddenly felt that there were still people like her in this world, and there were still people who understood her. She gritted her teeth. She was determined to help, but she also knew that even if she rushed forward, she wouldn't be able to change the outcome. On the contrary, the sooner law enforcement officers are found, the more hope Shen Jian has of surviving. Then, she immediately pulled the other female ghost and left here. Shen Jian glanced out of the corner of his eye. Ghost Dr. Suji. Current status, moved, anxious, angry. Favorability, 32, friendly. See this. He was in a good mood. After seeing the two women completely disappearing, Shen Jian also set his sights on the three ghost bandits. He, two female ghosts exchange for you a ghost who owns the ghost domain. This deal is worth it? The bleeding ghost took out a ghost dagger and spoke in a solemn tone. Now, what should you do? Can you save others, but can you save yourself? The cursed toxin in your body, and the forced use of the ghost realm again, I think your body is about to collapse. Hear this. Shen Jian gave the other party a strange look. You mean this? Said. He tapped his finger between his eyebrows, and a thick green mist was drawn out. It is the cursed toxin that exists in Shen Jian's body. Vampire? Fat ghost? Albino ghost? They paused for a moment. 100,000 question marks flashed through my mind. Damn it! Can this thing be extracted? Are you humming playing with us? When can things like cursed toxins be taken out casually? If it can be extracted, what else is it called poison? Besides, you have such a method, but you just pretended to be sick. The three ghost gangsters were stunned. I didn't understand Shen Jian's operation. But they knew that Shen Jian was not poisoned, which meant that he was a ghost who could use the ghost domain at any time. Even if the terror level is lower than them, they can still compete with them. If you are at the same level as them, you will completely torture them. Think of this possibility. The faces of the three ghost bandits turned green. His grandmas. I really met a charming person. Little brother, misunderstandings are all misunderstandings. Look, the two female ghosts also escaped. You also saved someone. There is no grudge between us, so why not just forget it? The bleeding ghost looked at Shen Jian fearfully. I am speechless about this old man. If the other party had shown the ghost realm and the ability to extract cursed poison early on, they would have gone away in a hurry. Where will it become the current situation? After all, this dog is still trying to trick people and disguise himself. Go. GGG, you really have to come with me, I need you. Shen Jian took out a ghost knife with a strange smile on his face. Just now. He used King Qin Guang's eyes of hell to take a look at the three ghosts and found that they were actually moneyless ghosts. It seems that his luck is not too bad. It was a good start right away. It's three again. Shen Jian walked over with a knife in hand. His eyes fell on the obese ghost, and the malice on his face could hardly be concealed. You are so fat, and you are sweating so much. From my professional quack doctor's perspective, you should be suffering from kidney failure. Fat ghost? Damn it! God is so kidney deficient. I am very healthy. Also, this is not sweating due to constipation. Isn't this clearly a cold sweat? If you were a doctor, I'm afraid you wouldn't have to pay for everything you just lost. Etc. The other person seemed to say that he was a quack. The fat guy couldn't hold himself any longer. Really? Sincerity is always a must-win. Everyone else admits that he is a quack, so isn't it normal for him to say the wrong symptoms? The fat ghost's face turned gloomy. Before he could react, he was stabbed by Shen Jian. Don't be afraid, I'm helping you treat your disease. For patients like you, the first thing you need to do is to remove excess fat. Fat ghost? He was stunned. What the hell, do you want to cure a disease by just stabbing me? With this thought, the fat ghost's body collapsed to the ground. All the supernatural beings disappeared. It's so frozen that it can't freeze anymore. The bleeding ghost and albino ghost on the side were frightened. I rub it. Is this man so cruel? Your current appearance is very different from the image of a good ghost just now. No one can refute you if you are said to be an evil ghost. I told you, don't be afraid, quackery. Isn't it normal to treat a few patients to death? Which doctor didn't draw experience from a large number of death cases and eventually became a famous doctor? Your valuable experience is very useful to me. Shen Jian pulled out his knife. He looked at the albino ghost. In the late stages of albinism, the skin is almost transparent. This disease is difficult to treat. My suggestion is to pluck out the skin from all over the body and put on a new one. Albino ghost. The corners of his mouth trembled wildly. Your uncle is sick. This is my psychic ability. Besides, albinism means peeling off the skin, but if you have a cold, does it mean cutting your throat? Beheading if you have a fever? Grass. If you were to be a doctor, it would simply be a misfortune for all patients. In a daze. The ghost's sword has already slashed through. Thump. Another ghost corpse fell to the ground. Vampire. In less than 5 seconds, the two companions died one after another. The horror inside him had reached its peak. He looked at Shen Jian as if he had seen a ghost. He was sure. This man is more evil than the gangster he is. Without even blinking, he instantly killed 2 red-clad ghosts. It cannot be said that what he did has nothing to do with good ghosts, it can only be said that it has nothing to do with it. This is an evil ghost who disguises himself as a good ghost but hides extreme malice in his heart. The bleeding ghost was completely panicked. He wanted to beg for mercy, but saw that Shen Jian had already set his sights on him, grinning like a devil, revealing the same sinister smile. And you. The words have not yet finished. There was a rushing sound in the distance. Right ahead, law enforcement officer, there are 3 gangsters inside. That was the voice of Ghost Dr. Suji. The other party is approaching quickly with law enforcement officers. When the bleeding ghost heard the voice, tears filled his eyes. Coming. Finally come. Yes, I am a gangster, take me away quickly. I admit that I am guilty. As long as you don't let me stay with this devil, the ghost prison is not unacceptable. Shen Jian raised his eyebrows. He looked at the 2 corpses on the ground, and then at the knife in his hand. This situation seems unclear to explain later. Think about it. Shen Jian's eyes fell on the bleeding ghost again. Hand the ghost's sword to the other party. Then he wiped a little blood on his right arm. Finally leaned against the wall. Put the cursed poison that was just extracted back into the body. The body slipped to the ground, showing a pale face. Vampire? He was confused. He watched helplessly as Shen Jian handed the murder weapon to his hand. He also faked the scene for his own sake. He also ate supernatural toxins that could kill him again. He was really confused. Are you serious about faking the scene in front of me, the victim? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yubuletin Chigua. Chapter 616. At this time, the bleeding ghost was very confused. He looked at the ghost knife in his hand that was stained with the blood of his 2 partners, and at Shen Jian's above-board behavior at the scene of the forgery, and slowly typed a question mark on the public screen. It didn't stop straight away. What the hell, if you want to fake a murder scene, you have to kill me first, right? In front of me, the victim, you blamed me for killing my brother. Do you think you don't treat me as a human being? Damn it, you are so stupid. He didn't know why Shen Jian had any need to fake this kind of trick that would be spotted at a glance. No matter how good the forgery is, he still has the witness. Think so? He suddenly noticed that Shen Jian's eyes fell on him. No words were spoken. But an extremely terrifying aura suddenly erupted. This moment, the sky seems to be falling. The bleeding ghost's pupils widened little by little. Ghost, ghost. He subconsciously screamed in horror. His whole body was shaking, almost to the point of extreme fear. This man turned out to be a ghost. He was stupid. Damn it. I came out to do some robbing, first I met a nosy female doctor, and now a ghost and God came. No. You must have agreed to come and play with us. You are a ghost and God, is this fun for you? He was panicking. Appearing extremely helpless. And he read a message from Shen Jian's eyes, remember to cooperate, otherwise you will be killed. Vampire. At this time, help arrived in a hurry. The ghost Dr. Suji took the female college student with him, and he was accompanied by 3 or 4 law enforcement officers, all of whom were top red-clad ghosts. When these people come to the scene, what he saw was Shen Jian, who slipped from the wall and fell to the ground, the bleeding ghost standing opposite with a bloody ghost knife in his hand, and the 2 companions who fell beside the bleeding ghost. The situation has become very obvious. This is a case of cannibalism caused by uneven distribution. The bleeding ghost wanted to devour Shen Jian for himself, so he killed 2 of his companions. This was their first reaction after arriving at the scene. Let go of the ghost weapon and don't make any unnecessary resistance, otherwise the Ghost King will be chasing you. A law enforcement officer looked at the injured hostage and scolded. Vampire. His facial muscles twitched slightly. The Ghost King's pursuit? I'm being threatened by a ghost right now. Do you think I dare to resist? Catch me now. I was so scared. The bleeding ghost wanted to cry without tears, and subconsciously let go of the ghost knife in his hand. He held the supernatural objects of ghosts and gods with hot hands. See this. Law enforcement officers immediately caught the vampire and controlled him. Ghost Dr. Suji also came to Shen Jian's side and said with concern, don't move around. I'll take a look at your condition. Say it. Without saying a word, she put her hand on Shen Jian and began to check the situation. Soon, her brows tightened. Not only were there traces of being eroded by supernatural toxins in Shen Jian's body, but the yin qi was being lost at an accelerating rate, and his right arm was broken in many places. What's even weirder is that the yin energy she injected into it was unable to help Shen Jian recover from his injuries. Then, she turned to look at the bleeding ghost and said in a cold tone, where did this ghost weapon of yours come from? The place where it was cut cannot be recovered. How could you, a red-clothed ghost, have such a high-level supernatural thing? Tell me, how can I recover? Vampire? When asked, he was obviously caught off guard. Subconsciously he looked at Shen Jian. As if to say, brother, is there any way to restore this murderous weapon of mine? Shen Jian said, it's useless. I can feel that the place hit by this knife cannot recover the supernatural power. It can only be cultivated back slowly like a human being, and the remaining supernatural power of the ghost sword will be exhausted. The bleeding ghost understands. He sneered and said, you are lucky to have received timely support. Otherwise, if you were hit by my ghost knife, you would just die on the spot. Want to recover? You will be injured for 100 days and just lie down slowly on the hospital bed. Shouting. The bleeding ghost was taken away by law enforcement officers. Before leaving, Shen Jian gave him full affirmation and promised to fish him out. Vampire. Hearing the words in his ears that only he could hear, he broke out in a cold sweat, thinking that he had understood the hidden meaning of Shen Jian's words. Don't talk nonsense when you go in, otherwise I can fish for you, or I can kill you quietly. Saw the robbers being taken away. Calm returned to the scene. Seeing Shen Jian preparing to leave, Ghost Dr. Suji stopped him. Where are you going now? Don't you know that you are now poisoned by a supernatural toxin? If you keep moving like this, you will die soon. She wore a white coat, had a straight face, and had the majesty of a doctor. Hear this. There was an imperceptible smile in Shen Jian's eyes. But he still laughed at himself, I know how terrifying this supernatural toxin is, and there is no way to save it. If I can save you, it is not in vain for me to explode once before I die." When saying this, Taishan King's clerical ability, Word of Ghosts and Gods, is also activated simultaneously. Make his words seem more sincere. "Who said you are hopeless?" Ghost Doctor Suji wrinkled her face and shouted, "You see clearly, I am a ghost doctor. I can't say how high my medical skills are, but I am only one step away from being a famous doctor. In terms of technology, no one in this whole town dares to say that he is better than me. I can tell you responsibly that I can cure you. Are you a ghost doctor? Replacement guaranteed. But I have no money and I have lost all the valuable things I had on me. You saved me, and I'll save you once, it's only fair." Ghost Dr. Suji smiled. A beautiful face full of joy. He seemed to be satisfied that he had persuaded Shen Jian to receive treatment. "By the way, do you have a place to live?" The beautiful woman seemed to have remembered something and asked. Shen Jian's eyes were filled with confusion. His lips moved, "No." "Then you can stay in my hospital. I am the only one in my hospital. If you stay there, I can take better care of you." "That, okay then." Shen Jian reluctantly agreed to this request. That's all. With the support of the beautiful woman, Shen Jian came to a small medical clinic not far from the crime scene. Su's Medical Clinic. This is a small clinic with a small area. The clinic is below and the bedrooms are on the second floor. Shen Jian was arranged to the room where the protagonist Lin Yan lived. When he thought that this room was the room of the protagonist of this dungeon, and it was also the protagonist's home, and that he would be here to spend time with the protagonist's mother day and night, Shen Jian's eyes suddenly became strange. Feeling a little agitated. There is an inexplicable urge. Inside the hospital, Shen Jian looked at the beautiful woman in front of him who had 4 attributes: virtuous, medical, mature, and maternal love. He felt more and more that anyone who could be the protagonist's mother was not an ordinary person. He knew the plot. The protagonist, Lin Yan, lost his father when he was young and was raised by his mother. When he was 3 years old, he was accepted as an apprentice by a mysterious man and took him into the mountains. He stayed away for 18 years. It was not until half a year ago that he came down from the mountain and started his college life, where he was ordered to protect the school belle from being unmarried. It was not until this vacation that he officially returned home and met his mother. But at this point in time, the protagonist is still pretending to be a slut in a ghost school and working as a bodyguard next to the school beauty. If the protagonist knew that he returned home and met his mother, only to find that he had an extra stepfather, I don't know what he would think. Shen Jian was very interested. Thinking. The beautiful woman in front of him had already fixed his right arm. The target struck by the ghost knife cannot recover supernaturally. Like humans, they can only choose to bandage and fix the bones and let the bones grow on their own. This was also the injury that Shen Jian knew early on. As a famous doctor of a generation, he naturally knows how to disguise himself to look like a patient with a fracture without being discovered. At this time, the beautiful woman said gently, "The injury on your right arm is actually not serious. As long as the supernatural toxins in your body are removed, you will recover quickly. With my medication, your injury will be restored in less than 10 days. It's getting better. Thank you, Aunt Ji." Shen Jian opened his mouth and said. Heard this title? The beautiful woman was slightly startled. A pair of watery autumn eyes revealed a hint of smile. "You kid, just call me Aunt. You look just like my son. If you call me Aunt, I won't suffer any loss for you, Aunt Ji." Motherly love overflowed in her heart. Shen Jian was almost the same age as her son, and he saved her life again, showing qualities that resonated with her. Under such circumstances, she already liked Shen Jian, and now that she was called Aunt again, the relationship became even more intimate. She looked at Shen Jian with a more kind look. Shen Jian's eyes moved. Ghost Dr. Suji. Current status, happy, happy, loving. Favorability, 48, friendly. Looking at the value on the favorability panel, Shen Jian was equally happy. The favorability level increased very quickly. It seems that it won't be long before the protagonist Lin Yan will call him dad. Think of this. The strange color in Shen Jian's eyes deepened. Wait for the beautiful woman to leave. Shen Jian looked at his right arm, which was bandaged and fixed. Don't care either. Instead, he sensed the location of the dragon energy. Not long after. Shen Jian frowned. Because in his perception, the dragon energy was divided into 5 paths. One is on the protagonist Lin Yan. But there are 4 more scattered elsewhere. And the intensity of these dragon energies is not high. Although he is not like the previous 7th grade Yuan Weilang who could only sense the thin dragon energy, it is not too strong either. It's like a complete dragon energy is divided into several parts. Shen Jian was thoughtful. Somewhat understood. This world-weary ghost really knows how to play. This should be the legendary opportunity. As the protagonist, how could he not have the opportunity to join him? And these places with dragon energy are obviously opportunities for the protagonist. As long as the protagonist's resonance with the dragon's energy reaches a certain stage, he can sense the location of the other dragon's energy, thereby searching for the past and finding these opportunities. Finally, he advances to ghosts and gods, ending this wonderful movie. It can be said. Although the world-weary ghosts and gods do not completely arrange the protagonist's life, but it also creates non-coincidental events at the most critical point, intervening in the protagonist's life and making her follow the plot outline she formulated step by step. Even if there is a slight deviation in the direction, it will not matter. Anyway, the final ending must be perfect. This kind of life is better than the Truman Show. Got this? Shen Jian began to recover these dragon energies. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yu Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 617. In the bedroom. Shen Jian pondered. He is planning the follow-up plan. World-weary Ghost City knows how to play, and Sheng Sheng divided a complete dragon energy that can maximize luck into 5 parts. According to what he learned about the plot summary of the movie, the protagonist Lin Yan had something hidden on his body, which was a dragon-patterned ring in his hand. The dragon pattern ring is a powerful supernatural thing. Not only does it contain a dragon energy, but it can also enhance its own level of terror by refining the devil. It was also given by the master of the protagonist. Shen Jian suspected that the protagonist's master was actually a world-weary ghost. Apart from that, he really couldn't imagine any other existence that could cause trouble under the eyes of a world-destroying ghost and god. Think of this. Shen Jian looked even weirder. This misanthropic ghost not only likes to build original movie worlds and observe everything, he also likes to cosplay other characters, participate in movie plots, and be a behind-the-scenes controller. This kind of bad taste made Shen Jian sigh with emotion. In addition to the dragon pattern ring on the protagonist's body, the remaining 4 dragon auras are scattered in 4 places. Based on the intensity of the induction, it can be basically judged that among the 5 dragon auras, the protagonist's dragon aura has the largest share, accounting for 40%. The other 4 channels are 5%, 10%, 15%, and 30%. Adding them all together, you get a complete dragon energy. Thinking. The chat interface has chat messages. Mr. Chi at all members, how are you doing? Should we join forces and share the intelligence we have collected? After all, we have never participated in 5-star movie copies. Even if there is competition, if we know more information, we can play our roles better. Lian Cheng, it's not your friend's fault if he hadn't been a high-level player. How could we have entered this level of dungeon? A 5-star movie is basically equivalent to a real 5-star dungeon, although important tips are given, as with the lineup of protagonists, we passers-by are also likely to become cannon fodder. Mr. Chi, please be polite. You don't know that thriller games attract people. If you have a choice, who would be willing to enter a dungeon of this level, you can't say that the master comes in voluntarily. Shen Jian. Seeing that a scolding battle was about to begin, Shen Jian's eyes became a little subtle as he looked at the chat interface. He recalled briefly. This player with the ID Lian Cheng should be considered the highest level in the game, level 49. He is also a ghost controller who has mastered the puzzle of 2 ghosts. Although he does not match the game level of level 49, but among all the players, it is undoubtedly a high-end configuration. Maybe he is not strong, but in terms of survival, he is definitely at the full level. Sister Lan, stop arguing. Mr. Chi is right. The difficulty of the 5-star dungeon is far beyond our ability. Fortunately, it is not the difficulty of the 5-star dungeon of a thriller game. As long as we live according to the plot trajectory of the characters, the possibility of survival is still very high, and it will not be like other horror game players. Participating in a 5-star copy means being wiped out by the group. This ID, Shen Jian remembers, is a very capable female white-collar worker, also level 49, who is also a ghost controller. However, this woman is very hidden and is the top ghost controller who can control the 3 powerful ghost puzzles. Has the qualifications to become a city leader. However, his own strength was not exposed. The chat interface was silent for a while. Immediately afterwards, a line of information emerged. Mr. Chi, I used thriller coins to clear the way and got a general understanding of the background of this movie world. This is Wutong City, which is divided into 4 regions, Southeast, Northwest, and Northwest. According to the content of the movie trailer, the protagonist went to a ghost school to go to college. After going down the mountain, became the bodyguard of the school beauty. This ghost school is located in Baikan district. If you want to get close to the protagonist, it is best to come to Baikan district. See this. The others also showed their sincerity. Lian Cheng, I am currently in Nanjing district. I have collected some rumors. It is said that there is an evil organization in the city. Every night when you go out on the streets, you may encounter the legendary bull-headed and horse-faced man, who is black and white, and wanders around day and night. Sister Lan, isn't this a famous ghost from the underworld? Could it be that the evil organization we are fighting against is the legendary underworld? Mr. Chi, it's a coincidence. It's not that everyone knows that there are rumors about the resurrection of the underworld in the real world. If the evil organization here is the underworld, then I suggest that we defect to the villain's side. As soon as these words came out, the corners of the mouths of all the players twitched. But after thinking about it, it is indeed the case. If the evil organization in this 5-star movie world is the legendary underworld, then it would be great if the protagonist just gives up and surrenders. According to rumors, there is a city god in the underworld, and the king of hell appears in this world. Not to mention the distant king of hell, the city god alone is a legendary yin god. His level of terror is by no means weaker than that of ghosts and gods. Wouldn't it be easy to defeat a protagonist who has not yet advanced to the level of ghosts and gods? If the Lord of Hell is attracted to take action, even if he becomes a ghost, he will still be suppressed. In this case, the ending of the movie cannot be the same. Think about it this way. All the players breathed a sigh of relief. It's better if it's not the underworld. As long as it's not the underworld, their idea of joining the protagonist lineup remains unchanged. Although it is easy to become a cannon fodder by the protagonist's side, as long as you are lucky enough, it is not a problem to win until the end of the movie. Sister Lan, the place I am in is very strange. I still haven't figured it out yet. There seems to be a very scary ghost around me. The ghost is walking around and foretelling the news of killing people, and he publishes the information where I can see the place. Passerby at Sister Lan, damn, we are in the same place, where are you? Passenger C, add 1 upstairs. I am also in this weird place. I tried not to look at these supernatural papers, but as long as there are papers around me, this kind of prediction of murder will be notified. If there is no one around me, paper, the message will appear on the skin. Lou Rending, I wrote it down. Most of these supernatural news about predicting murders are narrated from the first-person perspective, and some are narrated from the god's perspective. I can't tell at all whether this is a precognition or a death note. After hearing information related to themselves, more and more players participated in the discussion. They are all bad-mouthing. After all, being involved in a supernatural incident at the beginning is definitely an unfortunate thing. Not to mention, before completing the plot process of the relevant characters, they did not dare to leave here, for fear of missing their plot tasks, thus becoming a standout. Under this situation, these players naturally want to solve this supernatural incident as soon as possible so that they can join the protagonist and try to become a supporting role with a name. To this, Shen Jian saw it. Thoughtful. A ghost that is suspected of having precognitive abilities or a death note ability, no matter which one it is, it shows that this ghost is very special. And such a special supernatural event is happening in Wutong City. Will the protagonist be involved? Don't forget, the protagonist's dragon-marked ring has the power to swallow ghosts and become stronger. A ghost with special characteristics like this will definitely have a high level of terror. If it can devour the opponent, it will be greatly improved. Certainly. The bigger reason for this speculation is that the 5% share of dragon energy he sensed was in that direction. Then, Shen Jian had an idea. Thinking. Ghost Dr. Suji walked up. At this time, this beautiful woman was wearing a white apron. When she saw Shen Jian, she greeted, "Xiao Shen, come down for dinner. You are a patient now, so you must eat food that nourishes yin energy." Hear this. Shen Jian glanced at the sky. It was already dusk. Most of the day has passed since he entered the dungeon. See this. Shen Jian walked away. He glanced at the dining table. Fried eggs with leeks, lamb kidney soup, stir-fried pork kidney, beef soup. It's really filling. Seeing that Shen Jian didn't speak, the beautiful woman misunderstood and explained, "Isn't it to your liking? I'm used to eating human food, so I subconsciously chose these. If you want to eat human internal organs and the like, I'll do it next time. I can buy it for you." Her tone was a bit difficult. It seems that, as a ghost doctor, eating human organs raw is unacceptable. Shen Jian sat down. He smiled and said, "Aunt Ji, you misunderstood. I didn't expect that your medical skills are so good, and your cooking skills are not inferior. It seems that I will be blessed." Shen Jian took a bite. Authentic human cuisine indeed. And his cooking skills are very good. Although he is not as good as a chef like the proprietress of the villa of the past, there is still no problem in being a home-cooked chef. What's more important is that the person eating with him across the way is the protagonist's mother, who is beautiful and delicious. Shen Jian saw it. The flavor of a mature woman in this beautiful woman is far beyond that of a little girl. This is a unique temperament that requires time and constant edification to accumulate. It looks ordinary on the outside, but as long as someone peels off the coat in person, the charm displayed is unmatched by any girl. In the real world, maturity is often accompanied by aging and relaxation. But in the horror world, this situation does not exist. Especially after reaching the Ghost King level, you can control the tightness of your muscles by yourself, giving you a girlish body but also a full mature charm. Yeah, then you eat more. Hear this. There was also some tenderness in the beautiful woman's eyes. She remembered having someone to eat with her like this more than 10 years ago. After her husband died and her son was taken away, she spent the past 10 years alone. Now count the hours. My son is coming back soon. Shen Jian is about the same age as her son, and seeing Shen Jian reminds her of her son. Subconsciously, I wanted to make up for all my concern on Shen Jian. Emil. The two were talking and laughing. The relationship became a bit more intimate. Shen Jian saw it. His eyes moved. Ghost Dr. Suji. Current status, kind, caring. Favorability, 53, familiar. Looking at the value on the favorability panel, Shen Jian raised his eyes slightly. Think about it. He raised his fixed arm and said with some difficulty, Aunt Ji, my body is sticky, I want to take a bath. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yubuletin Chigua. Chapter 618. Wash, take a bath. Hearing Shen Jian's request, the beautiful woman was startled for a moment, and then seemed to remember something. She looked at Shen Jian's blood-stained clothes and then at his bandaged right arm. It's really not suitable for you to act like this. In other words, she had to help. Think of this. A slight blush appeared on her cheeks. There was some confusion in his eyes. After all, Shen Jian is no longer a 3-year-old child, but a handsome young man who can attract the admiration of countless girls. It was not appropriate for a widow to do such a favor. But besides her, there was no one else in the hospital who could help. Facing Shen Jian's deep eyes, her heart softened, and she sighed, it's really difficult for you to do it yourself like this, I'll help you, but Xiao Shen, you have to remember, I'm here because you are a patient now. For your sake, don't overthink it. Hear this. An imperceptible smile flashed across Shen Jian's face. It works. Originally, a favorable impression of 53 points was barely enough to reach the level of a friend. Not to mention something as intimate as helping with a bath, even physical contact would be considered to have ulterior motives. However, with the two buffs of being injured and unable to move freely, he made this request naturally. And the other party did not refuse. As for Aunt Ji's obvious statement of position, Shen Jian didn't care at all. The initial stages of any good relationship can be enhanced by a certain degree of physical contact, let alone something like taking a shower. Once he did it, his image in this beautiful woman's mind would be different. If before this, the beautiful woman would only regard him as a substitute for her son, and her kindness to him would only be a reminder of her son, then after this incident, his meaning to the beautiful woman has become a man. Relationships will also become more ambiguous. Come a few more times, and once the other person is familiar with bathing him and having appropriate physical contact, he will no longer have any feelings of disgust. With this thought, Shen Jian quickly came to the bathroom. The beautiful woman walked in, also wrapped in a white bath towel. His face turned red and his eyes were a little dodgy. There was some intention to quit in my heart. See this. Shen Jian knew he couldn't go any further. He tilted his head, choosing not to look at Aunt Ji to prevent the other party from retreating directly. See this scene. Suji's inner panic finally calmed down. She shyly helped Shen Jian take off his clothes. Not long after, steam lingers in the bathroom and the temperature rises. Shen Jian sat on the stool, letting the bath water pour over his back, feeling the thin, boneless jade hands passing behind him. The fragrance of the shower gel mixed with a delicate fragrance lingered on the tip of his nose. The strangeness in Shen Jian's eyes deepened. But he didn't go any further. Instead, he acted like an injured patient. 53 points of favorability can reach this far, which is already the limit. If he is greedy anymore, it will only cause the beautiful woman behind him to become wary of him. In that case, the gain outweighs the loss. Turn around. Behind him, a subtle voice sounded. Shen Jian blinked. Think about it. He said in a hesitant tone, Aunt Ji, there's no need for the first step, I can do the rest myself. When the beautiful woman heard this, She burst into laughter. She had already overcome the intimate act of bathing a strange man, but she didn't expect that the other man was shy. To know. She had already thought about this when she agreed to Shen Jian's request. How could she agree if she hadn't already decided? Now, Shen Jian's shy behavior made her feel like she was still a big sister, and there was no more rejection in her heart. Xiao Shen, why are you so shy? I've never seen your Aunt Ji in the world. Don't worry, I'll leave it alone if Aunt Ji doesn't look at you. Seeing Shen Jian not moving, she smiled helplessly. He stood up straight and came to Shen Jian. Xiao Shen, you are sick. The words have not yet finished. The beautiful woman was stunned. Looking straight at a certain place. Your Aunt Ji has never seen anything in the world, cross out. She had never seen the scene before. After just one glance, Suji turned her head in a panic, and a blush flashed on her sweaty face. Oh my god. No wonder Xiao Shen was reluctant to let her clean the front. It turned out to be because. Think of this. The rosy color on her face was a little darker. While feeling ashamed, there was also a flash of complacency in my heart. She, an old woman whose son had grown up, could still attract such a handsome young man, which gave her some confidence in her own charm. No matter how old they are, women care about attractiveness. And Shen Jian's reaction just proves that she is still charming. Wrong. Suji, you are a doctor, you are thinking such filthy things in your mind, and you are proud of it. You are a young man about the same age as your son, you have fallen. The beautiful woman came back to her senses, squatted down, and tried not to look at Shen Jian's face. She was not confident enough and said, Xiao Shen, this is nothing. You are a young man. It is normal to have this kind of desire. My aunt is a doctor, so you can understand. Say it. She carefully helped Shen Jian clean his body. But at the end, Shen Jian stopped at the last place to be cleaned. Out of the bathroom. Suji felt that her face was very red. The image of spreading one's wings and flying high always comes to mind. She sits on the sofa. His chest kept rising and falling, and his mind was restless. For Shen Jian, her original idea was very simple. Shen Jian had saved her life, and he was an injured patient. They had a patient-to-patient relationship. In addition, Shen Jian was good at chatting and establishing relationships, which made her feel very happy to get along with each other. It reminded her even more of her son who had disappeared for 18 years. But after today, she felt that she could no longer regard Shen Jian as a junior, but as a man with a fatal attraction to women. Crunch. The bathroom door opened. Shen Jian walked out. The two looked at each other. The beautiful woman was the first to lower her head and said calmly, Xiao Shen, remember to go to bed early. The night here is not safe. I don't know where you contracted the cursed toxin, and I don't want to pursue it, but I hope you first take good care of yourself. Well, good night, Aunt Ji. Finished. Shen Jian returned to the room. His eyes lit up. 59 points of favorability. This was the latest favorability threshold he had just observed. The improvement is rapid. Although he only achieved favorability with the help of his savior, the patient, and several external conditions, it is enough to show that what he did is indeed a very good option in the eyes of the protagonist's mother. According to this trend, it only takes a few more attempts to conquer the virtuous mother of the protagonist, which is not a problem at all. The thought that this is the protagonist's room, where he will be with his mother. Shen Jian's mood was in turmoil. I suppressed my thoughts and turned to check the chat interface again. At this time, there have been casualties among players. And it is in the area where the ID is Sister Lan. Shen Jian glanced at it roughly. Some players were unlucky enough to be chosen as the narrative object. And he was actually killed according to the description. But until the end, The player did not explain whether he was predicted this kind of death, or whether he was forced to kill according to the narrative method. Apparently, this player wants to drag others with him to die, deliberately not telling the truth. To this, Shen Jian didn't care. The next second, he disappeared into the room. Look in the direction of the sensed dragon aura. Soon, under night, Shen Jian appeared on a street. This place is located in the XC district and is full of residential buildings. There are telephone poles and green belts on the roadside, and the surrounding buildings are all high-rise buildings. Those who didn't know it thought they were back in the real world. But Shen Jian knows that the background of this movie world reference is the real world. Everything is naturally similar to the real world. When Shen Jian came here, the chat interface has also undergone new changes. Sister Lan, another one of us has been selected, and he is right next to me. Players who see this message and are in this area, it is best to come to me to gather together to discuss how to solve this supernatural incident, otherwise before we join the cast of protagonists, we die from supernatural events. Sister Lan, next, I will recount everything I saw and reveal the true supernatural power of this ghost. After this news was sent out, all players were paying attention to this matter. Because there are the most players entering this area. At least 2/3 of the 50-person player team are here. Shen Jian also saw the news. He made a casual move. A blank piece of paper appeared in his hand. This is the supernatural power of the wishing ghost, creating things out of thin air. According to the player whose ID is Sister Lan, players who enter this area are equivalent to being marked by this mysterious ghost. No matter where they are, the supernatural effects will take effect. Just thinking about it? The white paper in front of Shen Jian suddenly changed. A special supernatural effect was on the paper. Densely packed fonts suddenly appeared. My name is Wang Chao. When you read this sentence, I will be dead. Sister Lan, it is a first-person narrative. There are 4 players gathered around me. One of them is called Wang Chao, and this is his name in the real world. He has never told anyone that this ghost accurately predicted all of these. Immediately afterwards, words continued to appear on the paper. I currently live at the highest point of the dome building and have stayed in the presidential suite. There are 4 rooms in the suite, each with 1 person living in it, and now I am hiding in the bed. I'm very panicked because I heard not long ago that there is a ghost here with very strange supernatural powers. All the targets he described died. Now it's my turn. But I didn't think I would be so unlucky, because this is the top floor of the building. It's very safe, and there's a trap set outside the door. But what I didn't know was that a murder had happened in this presidential suite. There was once a couple who had a conflict, and the husband chose to kill his wife, cut her body into pieces, and hid it in a portrait. And this image seems to be the pirated Mona Lisa above my head. I saw the Mona Lisa smiling at me. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yubuletin Chigua. Chapter 619. I saw the Mona Lisa smiling at me. I triggered another ghost's killing pattern. Only then did I realize that we were locked when we entered the presidential suite. Until just now, I was lying on the bed with my eyes on the wall next to the bed. The Mona Lisa portrait on the screen successfully caused another ghost to launch a supernatural attack on me. I was dragged into the portrait. I am dead. The content of the paper ends here. Because the narrative target is dead. This moment. In the presidential suite. Wang Chao, who was already lying on the bed, observing everything and guarding against any movement, happened to focus on the Mona Lisa portrait on the wall. Instantly. As predicted by the paper, the dignified Mona Lisa in the portrait suddenly showed a strange smile. The smile is so captivating. Immediately afterwards, a hand stretched out and grabbed Wang Chao's head. Drag it into the portrait. Disappear. So far, everything is calm. However, the players watching all this in the chat interface exploded. Their eyes widened as they stared at the rows of messages. Sister Lan, Wang Chao is dead just as the ghost described. He died in the room. The trap we left was completely ineffective because the ghost was already in the room, but we didn't notice it. Sister Lan, this ghost is suspected of possessing precognitive powers. I suspect that this ghost has a purpose in selecting its targets. Only those targets that are about to trigger the ghost's killing pattern will be selected as new targets. Sister Lan, as for the text description of this large area, I guess it is to add more interest. Sister Lan, in other words, once selected, it means that that person is not far away from triggering the killing pattern, and may even be within the killing range of the evil ghost. Seeing this well-founded analysis, many players felt their scalps go numb. Especially the players in this area were sweating profusely. A precognitive type of ghost, this kind of supernatural power is too special and rare. If you can control it, you will undoubtedly have an extra life. But if he is targeted, the end will be tragic. Not to mention anything else, just digging a hole in the foreknowledge content is enough to trick anyone to death. They are both excited and afraid of such supernatural beings. This is undoubtedly a conspiracy against the tiger. The other side. Shen Jian also saw everything in his eyes. His eyes were full of interest. He was also quite interested in predicting ghosts. He has experienced so many horror game copies, and the only time he saw something related to predicting supernatural phenomena was Wei Qing's ghost painting album. The ghost picture book will draw a future for the ghost master within half an hour. Relying on this supernatural power, Wei Qing, a junior high school student, can stand out in the horror game and appear to be able to do it with ease. But the drawbacks of ghost painting albums are also very obvious. Because it is a picture album, its precognitive effect will only show the final effect of one time period. Any choice in it will change the future to the maximum extent and lead to supernatural failure. However, the ability of this precognitive ghost is to present the content of precognition in words, and do so in detail, as if it were experienced by me personally. This kind of prediction effect is much stronger than the ghost controlled by Wei Qing. Shen Jian's eyes moved slightly. Walk towards the dome building described in the text. On the way. The paper reacted again. Can't wait to start describing. Densely written words emerged. My name is Dong Yang. When you see the meaning of this sentence, I am already dead. The moment this sentence emerged. Far away in room 1 of the dome. 3 players are checking the room for abnormal conditions. 3 people, 2 men and 1 woman. One of them, a tall and thin young man, had his pupils widening slightly at this time. Because Dong Yang is exactly his name. The supernatural power of the precognitive ghost will only affect the person who is about to be attacked by the evil ghost. At this moment, his name appears on the paper, which means that he will be the next to die. Think of this. The young man named Dong Yang was terrified. He looked at the 2 players, a man and a woman, who were moving away from him with helpless eyes. Sister Lan, you brought me here, are you going to die without saving me? He said emotionally. He pointed at a smartly dressed female white-collar worker and begged. This person is the female player with the ID Sister Lan. Hear this. Sister Ian's face was also filled with gloom. Because from what the precognitive ghost just described, she knew that everyone who entered the presidential suite was targeted by the ghost. They were fine now, but they had not yet triggered the ghost's killing pattern, so they were lucky enough to survive. But judging from the current situation, it is obvious that they will not live long. Dong Yang triggered the murder pattern for the second time, which is the irrefutable proof. Then, After Sister Lan had moved away from a certain distance, she said in a deep voice, "Calm down, we are all being targeted by evil spirits, and no one can escape. You stand there now and don't move." Wang Chao is worried too much and took another look at the portrait. This triggered the killing pattern. "You don't have to do anything now, just wait for the evil ghost to leave." Hear this. Dong Yang nodded repeatedly and stood there, not daring to take a breath. His heart was pounding, and he didn't dare to look around, for fear that he would catch something and trigger the killing pattern. Immediately, he simply closed his eyes. And this time, the notebook that fell to the ground was opened. More continues to emerge. I followed Wang Yian's advice and thought that as long as I didn't aim randomly and stood still and didn't move, I could avoid triggering the evil spirit's killing pattern. That's exactly what happened. I'm not dead, but I don't dare to open my eyes because I also control Jigsaw, a ghost. I can feel that the ghost is still around and has not left. But this time, I am very confident that I can avoid the murder pattern, surprise everyone, and become my bragging rights. However, as 2 minutes passed, I gradually realized something was wrong. My feet began to become unable to move, my body became unable to move, and my closed eyelids could no longer be opened. I realized later that the ghost who attacked me would only kill people who had been silent. However, I followed Wang Yian's words and did not dare to move at all, which led to me triggering the killing pattern. "Wang Lan, pig teammate, you mistaken me. My consciousness is fading, I'm dead." The contents of the notebook end here. As predicted, Dong Yang was eventually killed by the ghost because there was no movement for 2 minutes. Until their death, they did not see where the ghost was. This moment, the 2 remaining players in the room were stunned. Fortunately, one of them picked up the notebook and the other looked sideways, otherwise there would have been one more of them among the people who had just died. The ghost in this room has this murder pattern. At this time, among the only 2 remaining players, the male player looked at the female white-collar worker named Sister Lan with something strange in his eyes. Because according to the content of the prediction, Dong Yang would most likely not have died if it hadn't been for Wang Yian's idea. Wang Lan. She was also confused. This player actually died because of her? This precognitive ghost is really so weird. Did he even foresee the situation? But soon, she discovered the loopholes. No, this is the plan of the precognitive ghost, because at normal speed, it may not even take a minute for the precognition content to be finished. Players have every chance to anticipate the situation in advance and make self-rescue actions. However, the content on the notebook, it is delayed until the player triggers the killing pattern before the subsequent content is displayed. Wang Lan seemed to have discovered something. His face was extremely ugly and he said, "This precognitive ghost, his supernatural power is indeed precognitive, and the content is marked with ways to avoid it, but the ghost is not willing to let us avoid danger through precognition, so he is using his supernatural power for nothing. This is the root of the problem. This ghost has a very high IQ." Wang Lan also paraphrased this paragraph and sent it to the chat interface. She hopes to get through this difficulty with the help of other players. In particular, she hopes to see Shen Jian's insights into this supernatural incident. A level 58 player, who is not from the Northwest-like entertainment city, definitely has far more insights into supernatural events than they do. Just because they can't think of a solution doesn't mean that Shen Jian can't think of it either. But, seeing that Shen Jian still didn't speak, Wang Lan gritted his teeth and spoke directly. "Sister Lan at King Yama, boss, do you have any opinions on this matter? I would like your help and I can pay you in thriller coins." Walk on the road. Shen Jian looked at the chat interface and raised his eyebrows. "King of Yama, it's very simple. Actively trigger the killing pattern when the ghost comes out, rush up and beat him up. The ghost will be honest." Wang Lan. A group of players. Looking at this speech that sounded like a lunatic, Their mouths twitched wildly. God will be honest after a few beatings. You think you're beating up cats and dogs. He also actively triggered the killing pattern because he thought he didn't die quickly enough. How brave do you have to be to try this method? It's not reliable to play high-level games. All the players shook their heads, a little disappointed with Shen Jian's performance. Inside the room, Wang Lan, who was watching all this, couldn't hold back. Although she controlled Jigsaw, the three ghosts, her supernatural strength could at best rival those of the red-clad ghosts. In this 5-star movie copy, red-clad ghosts are everywhere, and they can only be regarded as the level of ordinary citizens. Under such circumstances, let alone rushing to beat the ghosts, whether she can survive is a question. Thinking. Notebook pages turned. The prophetic words reappeared. My name is Wang Lan. When you read this sentence, I will be dead. See this sentence. Wang Yian's expression changed drastically. Looking at this room was like seeing a ghost, and I didn't dare to stay at all. She said anxiously, we can't stay here any longer. We don't know how many evil ghosts are here. Say it. She rushed out of the presidential suite. Run downstairs. The other players saw this and hesitated, but finally followed. Because this presidential suite is indeed too dangerous. 2 players have died one after another. Without Wang Lan, he didn't dare to stay any longer. Soon, the 2 of them were already running down the corridor. I knew how dangerous the top floors of this building were and decided to look for hope elsewhere. I think escaping from this area is the safest thing to do. Even if it will destroy the plot of the character I play, I still plan to leave. Either die early or die later. I choose to die later. I was walking in the corridor, and the lights in the corridor began to flicker on and off, as if they were about to go out. I knew something was wrong with this situation, because this is a situation that can only be caused by the appearance of evil spirits. Soon, the lights in the corridor were extinguished little by little, and soon it spread to me. I had a strong feeling of heart palpitations. I realized that once all the lights were extinguished, something bad might happen, but I have no choice but to watch helplessly. The words appear faster and faster. When you see this. Wang Yian's scalp exploded violently. At the moment when all the lights are about to go out, she immediately remembered that her mobile phone could still be used. In panic, she turned on the light on her phone. The light source was very weak, barely able to illuminate a distance of less than half a meter from the side. But this satisfied her. She quickly ran downstairs. At the same time, his eyes scanned the notebook. On the notebook, the prophetic words reappeared. I was deceived. Darkness is not the point. The point is the light that shines in the darkness. This is the murderous law of evil spirits. Wang Lan felt a chill in her heart. She was tricked by a ghost. I cheated until I lost my pants. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yubuletin Chigua. Chapter 620. This moment, Wang Yian's whole body collapsed. She felt like her breathing was stuck, leaving her breathless. She was lied to, miserably. This ghost, the source of their deaths, controlled their deaths through precognition. It used the contents of the prophetic intelligence to induce their thinking and make them move step by step towards the contents of the precognition. Dongyang was like that time, and she is like that now. If the prophetic text in the notebook hadn't deliberately mentioned the issue of lighting, even if she knew it was a sign of the appearance of a certain ghost, she would never have thought of turning on the light of her phone for illumination. Instead, prepare to discredit and go downstairs. This is her normal way of thinking about supernatural events. However, the contents of the notebook misled her, and the analysis was completely consistent with her personality, so that she subconsciously thought in this direction. Then, he was caught off guard and fell into the trap of the prophetic ghost. Triggered Li Gui's killing pattern. This precognitive ghost is too cunning. It's terrible to have players like them toyed with while applauding. Although she is a veteran player of Entertainment City Quick, her intuition for supernatural events is not weak, otherwise she would not have the chance to control the 3 ghost puzzles and become a top ghost master. However, the reality is that she did lose. Being crushed in terms of IQ and about to die. Think of this. Wang Lan was full of despair. Her strength can only match the most common red-clad ghosts, and she cannot use supernatural powers for a long time. In this case, unless she can instantly suppress the ghost in the corridor, she will definitely lose in the supernatural confrontation. Then, she glanced at the last remaining male player behind her. He smiled bitterly and said, "You should have seen all the characteristics of this ghost. Let me give you one last piece of advice, don't believe anything this prophetic ghost says, otherwise it will drag you into the abyss sooner or later. Let's go. The ghost will come out soon. You have also seen the content of the prediction. Don't turn on the light. At least you can avoid this one in the corridor." She also thought about joining forces with another male player to suppress the ghost and then take the opportunity to escape, but the other player was only a level 23 player, not even a ghost master. Not to mention helping her suppress the ghost, whether he was willing to help or not was a matter of time. Now, she basically gave up any hope. Thoughts are spinning. The words on the notebook continue to emerge. When I knew that I had triggered Li Gui's killing pattern, I knew that I was dead. Although I have controlled Jigsaw, the 3 fierce ghosts, my supernatural strength can barely reach the red level. The ghost in the corridor is at least the top red level, or even higher. I am not sure at all. Soon, the ghost showed up. I saw a female ghost without eye sockets walking out from the end of the corridor. The ghost's face was dripping with blood, flowing from the eye sockets. I could clearly see that this female ghost was longing for my eyes. She longed to see the light of day again. As for this frameless female ghost, she didn't exceed my expectations. She really reached the top red code level. I was relieved, because no matter whether I resisted or not, I couldn't escape from this level of ghost. I started to accept death. Soon, the ghost came and clawed at my eyes. I die. Looking at the countdown to his own death, Wang Lan didn't know what expression to make. Because this precognitive ghost took her as the first point of view and completely analyzed her psychology. Such a supernatural thing is too unreasonable. It was almost like she was describing her feelings before death. However, just when the words "I'm dead" were about to appear, the writing on the notebook is stuck. It seems like something happened. The next second, the words are fading. It disappears starting from the second to last row. Immediately afterwards, brand new prophetic content begins to emerge. Watch this scene. Wang Yian's heart was shaken, and a bit of hope bloomed in his eyes. Her ending has changed. Or did the ghost change the way he killed her? Soon. She got it? Because the content on the notebook continues to be updated. I began to accept death and watched the frameless female ghost approaching step by step, but suddenly, I seemed to have discovered something. I found that there was a figure following behind the frameless female ghost. This figure was slender with a perverted smile on its face. It was getting closer to the frameless female ghost until get closer to the ear of the frameless female ghost. Wang Lan? She was completely dumbfounded. A random figure entering the scene? Is it a human? Or a ghost? Besides, what are you doing getting close to a ghost's ear? What kind of god expansion is this? Confused, Wang Lan looked subconsciously. In the dark corridor, a female ghost with a stiff body and no eyes, leaving only a black eye socket, was walking towards her. A blue-gray ghost hand had already stretched out to take away her eyes. But just as the notebook narrated, behind the frameless female ghost, a slender figure suddenly appeared. Judging from the figure, it should be a man. She squinted her eyes, trying to see more clearly. But in the pure black environment, she could only see a vague outline, and she could vaguely see something like a rope hanging from the figure's wrist. Then, this figure came close to the frameless female ghost's ear and breathed hotly, "Do you want to change your eyes? I have been professionally changing eyes for 30 years, plug and play." This moment, the atmosphere on the field suddenly solidified. Frameless female ghost. Her expression suddenly stiffened. Feeling the hot air blowing by his ears, the whole ghost was frightened, his hair stood on end, and his eyes widened. "Ah!" A piercing scream came from the mouth of the frameless female ghost. "Damn it, damn it! There is dirt behind her. No, it's because of the perversion of riding a horse." While screaming, the frameless female ghost ran away directly, and the whole ghost was stuck to the wall of the corridor, in shock. Which pervert is this pervert following her? I was followed by a crazy man when I was a human, but I didn't expect that I could still be followed when I turned into a ghost. Lower your head, too low. At this time, only when the frameless female ghost had time did she see a black shadow walking towards her. There was a weird smile on his face. "Do you want to try it? I have very good medical skills and am a professional barefoot doctor. I have been practicing for 30 years and have never had a successful case. You are not the last one, but definitely one of the top 100 lucky ones." Frameless female ghost? She was confused. Damn it, did you ever think twice about what you said? Or did I hear it wrong? This lack of success cases actually means that there are no failure cases? But I heard Shen Jian's last words. She was sure. This is truly a patient killer. In his hands, there was not a single living case, and before him, nearly 100 people of his kind had been murdered. Think of this. The frameless female ghost's legs and feet were a little weak, and she said with a fierce expression, "What do you want to do? Let me tell you, there are witnesses here, and your behavior is a crime." Wang Lan. Could this witness be referring to her? No. You are a murderer. Do you have the right to accuse others of committing crimes? When you said this sentence, didn't you feel there was anything inconsistent? She groaned inwardly. The ghost who wanted to kill her was cornered by a mysterious man, who asked him not to hurt her as a victim. This scene. It refreshed her outlook on life. In her eyes, the top red-clad ghost who represented invincibility was now like a weak and helpless lamb, begging a perverted murderer to let her go. She couldn't imagine this scenario. Subconsciously, Wang Lan grabbed the notebook and looked at it with the help of the light of his mobile phone. The content of the precognitive text seems to have disappeared after the arrival of the mysterious man. In the end there was only one sentence left. "My name is Wang Lan. I am very lucky. I survived. See this." Wang Lan was shocked. Did she survive? In other words, this mysterious man has no ill intentions towards her? Isn't he a ghost? Could it be a player? Think of this possibility. Her pupils shrank violently, with an expression even more frightening than seeing a frameless female ghost begging for mercy. If this mysterious figure was a ghost, then she had no doubts about the result. But if you are a player, the relationship is huge. Violently. She seemed to remember something. While his mouth opened slightly, all the lights in the corridor were restored. Wang Lan narrowed his eyes and looked into the distance. That mysterious figure was none other than Shen Jian. She guessed correctly. Among the players in the team, Shen Jian is the only one with such strength. Thinking. Shen Jian has packed up the frameless female ghost and taken her away. This is also a moneyless ghost. Shen Jian discovered that the more persecution a ghost has suffered and the more secluded the place where the body is hidden, the more likely it is that the ghost will not have a source of good fortune. After all, how many blessings can a ghost who can't even move out of the confines of this building have? This kind of environment is the best place for the birth of a moneyless ghost. Got this? Shen Jian's expression gradually became excited. If that's the case, there are probably 2 more moneyless ghosts in the presidential suite where 2 players died just now. Then, Shen Jian strode towards Wang Yian's direction. See this? Wang Yian's face was filled with joy. She looked at Shen Jian's face with distinct features, unusual handsomeness, and was even better than a debut star, and then thought of Shen Jian's terrifying strength. If she could hook up with such a handsome guy, she would have a smooth life for the rest of her life. She adjusted her hair and smiled sweetly. In the real world, she is considered young and promising, but in her 30s, she has taken the position of manager of a large company. Although she is not as tall as a celebrity, she has many suitors in the company who are lickers. She still has some confidence in her own charm. However, just thinking about it, Shen Jian just nodded slightly towards her, then passed her and walked back to the presidential suite. Then, in the presidential suite, there were bursts of wild and strange laughter, as well as the frightened screams of the ghosts. Wang Lan. She blinked. The facial muscles twitched slightly. Fine. Ghost controllers, especially ghost controllers like Shen Jian who are almost at the top of horror game players, have some quirks, which is normal. Sometimes she likes to dig a hole and hide in it to sleep. Wang Lan comforted herself like this. She thinks that with her charm and constant stalking, Shen Jian will always have a good impression of her. A man chases a woman, separated by a mountain. When a woman pursues a man, there is a veil between them. The copy of the 5-star movie took a long time, and she planned to make a huge improvement in the relationship between the two before the copy was over. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yubuletin Chi Gua. Chapter 621. Soon, Shen Jian walked out of the presidential suite. There was a somewhat satisfied smile on his face. Sure enough, as he guessed, the 2 ghosts in the room were both moneyless ghosts, allowing him to make 2 more achievements in vain. According to this trend, 50 moneyless ghosts does not seem to be an unachievable goal. Boss, let me meet you. My name is Wang Lan. Thank you for your help. It turns out that you are also in this area, boss. If I had known earlier, we would have gone to meet you. In that case, we would not have been trapped by this precognitive ghost. Such a big gap. Wang Lan stepped forward. Greeted warmly. And keen to show off their charm. Shen Jian glanced at her. He nodded and said, "You have a good ability to analyze this precognitive ghost. It is a pity to be labeled as an entertainment city player. If it were a thriller game copy, with your level, the supernatural intensity would be even higher." Although Wang Yian's performance in the precognition content can be called a pig teammate, without knowing the details of the precognition ghost, let alone knowing that the opponent can set traps or even induce players, it would not be possible for any player to come in. Maybe he can do better than Wang Lan. However, Wang Lan was able to gain insight into the supernatural power of the precognitive ghost in a short period of time, and judged that this ghost had a high IQ and liked to play with people's hearts. His keen insight was better than that of most 4-star players. If he were not anchored in the entertainment city by world-weary ghosts and gods, and could only participate in movie copies, his strength might be even higher. A proper ghost controller at the level of a city manager. Hear this. Wang Lan looked a little happy. Shen Jian recognized her ability, which was a good thing. For a top ghost master like Shen Jian, he naturally does not want the people around him to be a burden, but teammates who can fight alongside him. There is no doubt that he meets the conditions. Conversation room. The chat interface exploded. Lian Cheng at Sister Lan, what's going on over there? I heard from other players that the ghost was targeting you, but you survived according to the content of the precognitive text. Someone rescued you. This question is also a question that many players want to know. Especially those players who were in the same area as Wang Lan looked excited. The player who had been sentenced to death inexplicably survived. This was obviously because something had changed and the predicted future did not come true. They wanted to know what was going on. If they could crack the death prediction of this precognitive ghost, they could stay here without any scruples and wait for the opportunity, instead of escaping from here at the risk of being a loser. Sister Lan, I was indeed rescued. It was King Yama who saved me, and he was also in that area. As soon as these words came out, all the players were shocked. King Yama? Is it the high-level player who caused their dungeon to become more difficult? He was actually in this dangerous area and happened to save other people. At this time, they suddenly thought of Shen Jian's previous speech. Somewhat dazed. Dare Qing, you are not joking, you really dare to beat up a ghost? Eat, sleep, and fight the devils. Damn it! You are too brave. Are you really not afraid that you will be killed if you fail to save people? Or is it that a level 58 player is enough to compete in a 5-star movie dungeon? How strong is he? Comparable to the real Ghost King? Think of this. Many players were moved. In addition to the protagonist of the movie in this dungeon, it seems that among the players, there are also thighs that can be hugged. Then, everyone complimented and flattered each other. To this, Shen Jian just glanced at it and didn't care at all. He went downstairs. Walked towards the location of the sensed dragon energy. He suspected that the location of this prophetic ghost was where the dragon energy was. Even if it isn't, it is still a ghost that has a significant relationship with dragon energy. After all, this is the protagonist's opportunity. A ghost with precognitive powers is indeed a big gain. Once you control it and have the ability to predict yourself, you can completely avoid most dangers. Boss, what are you looking for? Wang Lan, who was shamelessly following Shen to the gym, asked. She keenly saw that Shen Jian was not moving blindly, but moving with purpose, as if he was looking for something. She guessed that this was probably some kind of hidden mission. No matter how bad it is, it has something to do with the plot character played by Shen Jian. Shen Jian nodded slightly. At this time, sudden changes occur. Wang Lan suddenly discovered that the notebook in her hand was once again eroded by an inexplicable supernatural force. The pulsating prophetic words reappeared. My name is Shen Jian. When you read this sentence, I will be dead. See this scene. Wang Yian's expression changed drastically. His eyes suddenly fell on Shen Jian. She had just learned that this big boss surname was Shen. Immediately, Wang Lan said with an ugly face, we are definitely being targeted. According to what I observed in the morning and afternoon, although this precognitive ghost will activate supernatural powers from time to time and predict the death of others, this frequency is not fast, and it may take most of the day. In the past, it also predicted a person's death. Before that, there was no movement for several days. I suspect that our arrival triggered the supernatural power of the precognitive ghost. He discovered the fact that we are human beings and planned to destroy us through a series of guidance. At this time, someone on the chat interface also asked who was having bad luck again. Sister Lan, it's our side, it's King Yama. Our identity as human beings has been exposed. This prophetic ghost intends to destroy us unless we stay away from this area. We will not be able to escape being locked. Saw this message. Everyone looked solemn. In the movie dungeon, they play characters in the plot to clear the dungeon. If the local ghosts here detect the human identity, no one knows what will happen. But they know there will definitely be bad consequences. For a while, their faces were full of fear, and they had already thought of escaping from here. Rather than being targeted by a vicious ghost who doesn't know the details and dying from the prediction of death, it is better to leave voluntarily, so that there is still a glimmer of hope. Thinking. A player asked, "Where are you? Maybe we can meet up and leave here together." Sister Lan, "We were wandering on the street." Players. Their faces were honey-colored. What? You guys, do you think your life is too long? Don't you know that in the world of ghosts, night is the most dangerous? How dare you go out? Grass. It couldn't be that you chose to go out, which triggered the supernatural power of the precognitive ghost. Otherwise, with your strength, if you stay in the building, even if there is danger, you don't need to worry about your life safety. Thinking of this possibility, all the players looked confused. If you don't do this, you won't die. If you still dare to mess around in a copy of a 5-star movie, then why don't you just skyrocket to 90,000 miles? The other side. Watching the chat interface fall into dead silence, Wang Lan also wanted to cry without tears. She is a cautious player, and she really doesn't want to waste time. But at this time, if she didn't follow Shenjian, she was afraid that she would trigger the precognitive ghost again. However, she never expected that although she did not trigger it, Shenjian did. She looked at the notebook. There are more and more words on it. It's like there is an invisible ghost narrating someone's death prediction. I rescued Wang Lan, but instead of following her advice and staying in the presidential suite for one night, I chose to go downstairs. I started looking for something. For this reason, as I walked deeper and deeper, the location became more and more desolate, with fewer and fewer buildings. This place was very strange and deserted. The indigenous people had all moved away, as if they were escaping from something. I didn't care about it and kept digging in to find what I needed. But what I didn't know was that while I was looking for other things, I was also stared at by something dirty. It was a weird man wearing a windbreaker. There were water stains on the weird man's body. It didn't look like water dripping. And like blood, this weirdo seems to have just killed someone, and now he is targeting me again. It is said that this is a murderer. Because his wife cheated on her at home, he took a watermelon knife and hacked the adulterer to death. Since then, he has hated all lovers. Now, he has set his sights on me, but I am not in line with his expectations. Killings are regular, so I'm okay for now. Wang Yian's scalp went numb after seeing this chilling text. Are they being targeted? But she saw nothing. In panic, her eyes glanced around, and soon she saw a shadow at a corner behind her. The figure of the strange man was not exposed, but his shadow was clearly reflected, like an abyss swallowing everything, making people shudder. Wang Lan withdrew his gaze. I didn't dare to look at it again, for fear of triggering the evil spirit's killing pattern. Immediately afterwards, the text continues. But I don't dare to be careless and grab Wang Lan and run together in an attempt to escape from this murderer. I know that I am far from a match for this ghost, but I don't panic, because as long as I escape far enough without triggering the ghost's killing pattern, I can get rid of this lock. Wang Lan subconsciously wanted to escape with Shenjian. However, Shenjian turned around slowly, looking at the words that came to an abrupt end on the notebook. Grinning, "You just said, I escaped? Little brother, your prediction is not strong enough," said. Shenjian stretched out a finger. A bright golden beam shot out from Shenjian's hand and penetrated directly through the wall. Thump. Under night. A strange man in a trench coat stared in disbelief and slowly fell down. Subsequently, Shenjian looked at the notebook. Now, how do you think you can predict it? Predictor. MMP. Met an old man. In the notebook, the words are disappearing. In its place is entirely new content. My name is Shenjian. I survived because I killed the monster in the trench coat with one finger. I think this precognitive ghost is a waste and doesn't even know what I'm looking for. When the content reaches this point, there is another pause. Then, it's a unique piece of content, full of some strong emotional fluctuations. How the hell did you program me like this? You're done. 3 lines of text disappeared again. My name is Shenjian. I survived, but I was targeted by the Supreme and Great Lord Parchment. He said, I am about to die. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyu Buletin Chigwa. Chapter 622. Look at the last sentence on the notebook. At this time, not only Wang Lan, but all the players in this area were numb. Damn it. Well done. Why would you, a human, provoke a ghost? Do you think the copy of the 5-star movie is not up to standard and you plan to continue to increase the difficulty? Too old. I have only heard of minimizing communication with local ghosts and reducing the difficulty of the dungeon. I have never heard of actively cursing people to let the fierce ghosts increase their strength. You are a dog. If this continues, not only will Shenjian's game be over, but they will also bear the wrath of this ghost and suffer disaster. Judging from the information on the content of precognition, this object claiming to be the Great Parchment is undoubtedly a precognitive ghost hidden in the depths. This ghost has a very high IQ, and its supernatural power is obviously not as simple as prediction. Judging from the last sentence on the parchment, it seems that he has the ability to actively kill the player. And they also discovered that this ghost had a very small mind, etc. This idea will not be penetrated, will it? Think of this possibility. A group of players acted like ostriches and chose to keep out of sight, fearing that the other party would increase their strength just because they accidentally scolded this prophetic ghost. They are just a group of ordinary players and cannot fight against the devils above the red level. As for Wang Lan, I can only say that you will be blessed. The other side. It looked creepy and like a threat narrated by another person. Wang Yian's heart trembled. Not only is this ghost highly intelligent and cunning, but he can actually talk to them in the first person. It feels like there is a ghost parasitizing in the notebook. But she knew that this was an illusion caused by the supernatural. The notebook in her hand is not a supernatural thing, it is just an object affected by the supernatural and becomes a carrier. Even if it is destroyed, as long as there is something around her that can describe the words, the content of the prophetic words will appear. It is undoubtedly a dream to catch such a ghost. Boss, let's gather the players and leave here. This parchment is too weird. If he hides and doesn't show up, unless we overturn this place, there will be no chance at all. Wang Lan began to admonish. I feel that staying to fight the precognitive ghost is undoubtedly draining myself mentally. Predictive ghosts can afford it, but they can't. The top priority is to escape from this area before the parchment activates its supernatural powers again. Even if you want to take revenge, you can find an opportunity in the future to tell the protagonist of this movie world that the protagonist will not die. The protagonist will conquer this ghost, which is the correct way for their players to open up. The more I think about it, Wang Lan felt more and more that this was the real way. It is impossible for such a weird and special ghost not to be related to the protagonist. However, Shenjian was unmoved. His eyes looked towards the notebook, staring at the words that were brewing and were about to emerge. There was a hint of expectation in his eyes. Because if he was not mistaken, the parchment would give him a surprise next. Soon. On the notebook, prophetic words appeared. It's still a familiar beginning. My name is Shenjian. When you read this sentence, I will be dead. After solving the monster in the windbreaker, I was indifferent, because the horror level of this ghost is only the top red one, and it is the same garbage as the precognitive ghost, crossed out, and what I need is to have no luck and be called wealthless ghost is a special type of hungry ghost. That's why I started looking for it. Soon, I found it. Continuing walking along this road, I saw a coffee shop that was still open in the early morning. The shop was very ordinary and unremarkable, just as ordinary as the prophetic ghost, crossed out, mad, angry. But I looked excited. Because I saw at least 7 fierce ghosts in the coffee shop that I considered wealthy ghosts, I did not suppress my greedy thoughts and decided to follow the adults' ideas. I want them all. So, I walked in. See this text. Shen Jian was shocked. Sure enough, the real supernatural power of this parchment can be used to help players predict future clues. Although the parchment in the past also had predictions, it was basically synchronized with the player's itinerary. The parchment would not give out interesting information at all until the player actually triggered a certain trap, mechanism, or killing pattern. It's different now. He had just arrived and had no idea that there was a coffee shop in front of him, let alone that there were 7 or 8 animals in the coffee shop that met the performance indicators for unlocking the hungry ghost path. The parchment said this very accurately. Think of this. The smile in Shen Jian's eyes became stronger. He wanted to order this parchment. With this supernatural power, whether it was the last remaining dragon energy or Luo Fengtian's authority, he might be able to use the parchment's precognitive power to help him lock in the target. This saves him a lot of time. It is of great significance. And he also wants the moneyless ghost in the prophetic words. Immediately, Shen Jian did not hesitate. According to the prompts on the content, I chose to go to the coffee shop. Wang Lan. She was a little confused. The parchment had already predicted this, which meant that this coffee shop was extremely dangerous. She didn't know why Shen Jian still insisted on going. From her observations along the way, she discovered that what the prophetic ghost described in the notebook was all true, and all the events predicted had happened. In other words, what can be recorded above is definitely the main reason for the death of the player. Under this situation, Shen Jian still planned to find the so-called moneyless ghost. Even if it was a hidden mission, he had to see if there was any danger. How did this man survive until now with such recklessness? She looked puzzled. Swinging from side to side. But in the end he gritted his teeth and followed. Boss, there are traps in this parchment. You need to think carefully about it. Just like the weird man in the windbreaker just now, I guess that once we start running away in pairs and meet the conditions of being a couple, the murder pattern will be directly triggered. This one thing, the parchment will only say it after we actually trigger it. Wang Lan explained. And the coffee shop in the precognitive content must have similar risks. Since the parchment is so generous about the future news, I suspect that as long as you enter the coffee shop, some kind of trap will be triggered and the player will be put to death. Hear this. Shen Jian looked as usual. Because he had already thought of it. The parchment did not set a trap for players to step into, which means that the news itself is a trap. If you step in, you will be attacked. If you don't go in, you can only watch. Apparently. This time the parchment took an approach he couldn't refuse. If he wanted to catch the moneyless guy, he had no choice but to step in. For this, a strange smile appeared on Shen Jian's face. After catching these 7 or 8, the number of ghosts required to unlock the hungry ghost path has been reduced to a quarter. And this is the first night of entering the movie copy. With the help of parchment, unlocking the hungry ghost path in a short time is not a problem at all. How could he refuse such a casual thing? Soon, the coffee shop from the preview content appears. This store appears in a remote corner with no foot traffic. The store is brightly lit. It is in sharp contrast to the dim surrounding environment. In the real world, if they see a store open in the middle of the night, they will only feel safe. But placed in the copy, all this seems too scary. Wang Lan shivered. She had an intuition that as soon as she opened the door of the coffee shop, she would be faced with unimaginable danger. This kind of danger cannot be matched even by true 5-star players. Level 58 is far from reaching unbridled capital. Boss, please don't go in. I suspect that the customers in this store may be ghost kings, or even more powerful ghosts than ghost kings. Wang Lan spoke up again. Then, she became more and more excited when she saw Shen Jian's expression. He pushed open the door of the coffee shop directly, then turned around and locked the door. He let out a sinister laugh. Wang Lan. Her eyes widened. How does she feel? The more she talks about Shen Jian, the more excited she becomes. And what is the operation of locking the store door? Are you afraid that the evil ghost won't be able to catch you, so you lock the door and take the initiative to send yourself up? Damn it! This operation is awesome. Even if you want to die, this is not the way to die. She couldn't hold herself any longer. At this time, on the notebook, words appeared again. I entered the coffee shop based on the clues of the Great Lord Parchment. Only then did I realize that what Wang Lan said was right. The customers in this coffee shop are all Ghost King level ghosts. The reason for this situation is that this coffee shop is actually one of Yin Cao's bases, and the so-called customers are all ghosts who are ready to join Yin Cao. I later learned that if you want to join the Yin Cao, you must have a terror level above the Ghost King, then enter the coffee shop at the specified time and drink coffee. This means that you are willing to become a member of the Yin Cao. Although coffee is harmless, it is only to evil spirits. If humans drink it, it will break the balance of evil spirits in the body and die from the evil ghost's backlash. I'm very unlucky, because tonight's guests are not only Ghost Kings, but also 2 Abyss-level ghosts. They are all targeting me. I regret so much. I insulted the Great Lord Parchment, and then I received such a fatal threat. I wish I could go back half an hour, so that I would kneel in front of the Great Lord Parchment and pray to him of forgiveness. I'm done. This is the punishment I deserve. After reading this description, Wang Yian's face turned pale. It is the Ghost King's supernatural place, and there are 2 Abyss-level ghosts in it. Her guess is correct. Even if a real 5-star player comes, he can still hate the Northwest. And this coffee shop was called the base of Yin Cao by Parchment. When she mentioned the underworld, she immediately thought of the underworld. Combined with what the previous player with the ID Lian Cheng said about the bull-headed horse-faced, impermanent black and white, and wandering spirit day and night, she suspected that this so-called Yin Cao was the villain of this movie copy. In other words, Shen Jian mistakenly entered the villain's stronghold. It's over. Wang Lan felt a chill in her heart. Just as the parchment said, Shen Jian, it's over. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yu Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 623. Shen Jian, it's over. For a while. Whether it is the players in this area or the other players who are paying attention to this matter, they all have such thoughts in their hearts. It's the Ghost King's supernatural place, plus 2 Abyss-level ghosts, and the coffee shop is also suspected to be the final villain of the 5-star movie copy here. The buffs of this special meow are already stacked. It would be a bit rude if he doesn't die. Think of this. All the players shook their heads. Sure enough, those who dare to provoke Li Gui will not end up much better. The precognitive ghost didn't even reveal his identity, and relied on simple text content to kill a level 58 horror game player. Its horror is chilling. They didn't dare to imagine how terrifying this prophetic ghost's true form would be. Perhaps it had reached the Abyss level or even the top Ghost King. A ghost of this level has already stood at the top of the pyramid of the horror world. Even if it is placed in a large number of movie copies in the entertainment city, it is still an unsolvable ghost that exists as the final boss. But here, this is just an appetizer. One can imagine just how strong is a 5-star movie copy. Once targeted, there is absolutely no way to survive. Pity. Hey, that's too reckless. Even if the wealthy ghost mentioned by the prescient ghost is really in the coffee shop, he doesn't have to rush. He can completely rely on his own ability to become the protagonist's subordinate, and then bring this news to the protagonist. Take action, and when the time comes, he can pick up the leak directly instead of being trapped in a supernatural place. Normally, they are different from us. They participate in more thrilling horror game dungeons. Even teammates in the dungeon may be enemies, let alone asking for help from the NPCs in the dungeon. I guessed it at the time. He's definitely going to be a standout. I still don't understand the fault of the entertainment city model. Level 58 is already the strongest group in the real world. I'm afraid that together, we may not be his opponents. A group of players were discussing. I feel sorry for Shen Jian. At this time, someone is speaking in the chat interface. Mr. Chi, it's best not to draw conclusions so quickly. Experts are different. All players were stunned when they saw the news. I feel like this player cannot accept reality. They had also seen before that the middle-aged rich man with the ID of Mr. Chi admired Shen Jian very much. He spoke in a respectful tone and even called him exalted man. He looked like he had been brainwashed. They speculated that this middle-aged rich man may have experienced supernatural events in the real world. At that time, Shen Jian was already a horror game player and became a ghost master, helping the rich man solve supernatural threats. But what they don't understand is that rich man has now become a horror game player. The 34-level game level means that he has experienced many movie copies. Doesn't he still understand the horror of ghosts above the Ghost King level? Why do you think Shen Jian, a level 58 player, can survive in a supernatural land with an abyss-level Ghost King? The only thing they can think of is the filter of their savior. To this, Qi Shan also knows what these players think. But he didn't explain. I just made a statement, chose to support Shen Jian, and made my presence felt. Others don't know. How can he, who has experienced it personally, not know Shen Jian's strength? It's okay to say that at the supernatural cinema, Shen Jian only dealt with some green and red level ghosts. But the time he was trapped in a ghost village, red-clothed ghosts were everywhere. There were enough ghosts in the village, and a real ghost king was born. But still being ruthlessly crushed by Shen Jian. What's more important is that he made inquiries after he went out, and it was the underworld that eliminated hundreds of ghost villagers in the ghost village. Combined with the information he knew, he had reason to suspect that Shen Jian was a city god like the city god of Linhai City. And the recovery time is much earlier than that of their female city god in Linhai City. He didn't think Shen Jian would die as a mere ghost king. Even if there is a supernatural power that predicts ghosts. After all, Wang Lan was also predicted to die before, but it was resolved in the end. This shows that predicting ghosts is not inevitable. But he had no reason to say this. This feeling of everyone is drunk, but I am awake alone made him look forward to it. The other side. Naturally, Shen Jian, who didn't know that the players had issued a death notice on him, walked into the coffee shop. Locked the door with a chain. Then he looked at the customers in the coffee shop leisurely. There were 10 people in the store. 9 of them are customers, and 1 is a puppet barista. Apparently, the parchment refers to the moneyless ghosts. It is these guests. There was a bit of excitement on Shen Jian's face. Scan them one by one. Good. Just like the number stated on the parchment, 7 of the 9 guests were moneyless ghosts. This precognitive ghost can really tell the blessings of evil ghosts. and its precognitive powers are much better than Wei Qing's ghost painting album. In his opinion, this is no longer at the level of Ghost King, but above ghosts and gods. Even among all the ghosts and gods, his supernatural power is far ahead. At present. In other words, Cleopatra's past and future incarnations can stabilize one end. The protagonist of this movie copy cannot really be the apprentice of a world-weary ghost or god. Otherwise, how could a special ghost like Parchment appear in the copy? Shen Jian was thoughtful. I have some thoughts in my heart. Thinking. All the ghost kings also looked at him. Looked at Shen Jian. After all, apart from being mentally ill, newcomers who want to join the Yin Cao organization will come to drink coffee at this time. Only. What do you mean by locking the door of the store? Why, are you afraid that law enforcement officers will come and search your home? At this time, the white paper in Shen Jian's hand reacted again. The densely packed text beat happily. I knew I was done. I saw a total of 10 ghost kings here, and all of them emitted supernatural fluctuations that made me scared. I began to panic. Under the pressure of Ghost King level supernatural beings, as a human being, I am still too weak. Even if the supernatural jigsaw puzzle I control is only as scary as a Ghost King, there is still no killing supernatural power. Ghost eyes, if I want to break out, my ghost eyes need to be open to 8 or more. But here, I had absolutely no chance. Especially the 2 abyss-level Ghost Kings, a little lowly holding a life-size stuffed rabbit, and a middle-aged man carrying a guitar bag. They have locked onto me. Once I make any move, they will choose to attack. Because my behavior of locking the door of the store on my own has offended them. I deserve to die. If I still think about locking the door at this time, I may be mentally ill. These last few sentences don't look like Shen Jian's first-person description. Instead, they look like someone couldn't hold back and couldn't help but make a few remarks. Shen Jian just glanced at it. His expression was as usual. Following the words on the parchment, his eyes fell on the little lowly and the middle-aged man in the corner. These 2 abyss-level ghost kings also have no luck in their bodies. They are ghosts who are destined to have no wealth in their lives and cannot keep their wealth. In the real world, this kind of ghost cannot become a person at all. He can only experience the feeling of not starving like a beggar. This is the hungry ghost. It is this type of ghosts that the hungry ghost realm needs. Think of this. Shen Jian's face was filled with an excited smile. He met the eyes of all the ghost kings and said enthusiastically, "You are all here. The first time I saw you, I felt that you are all my long-lost relatives. You are so kind." All ghost kings. They were slightly startled. Shen Jian's enthusiastic attitude put her off. What a long-lost relative. Who is your relative? You are quite familiar with me. When I was stunned. Shen Jian had already walked towards the nearest little lowly. Little sister, where are your parents? It's too dangerous for you to come here alone in the middle of the night. If you encounter a strange fox, you will be in trouble. Poor child. As Shen Jian spoke, he touched the little lowly's head with strange eyes, his tone was very gentle, and he gave a very doting look. As if cherishing some treasure. Ghost King. Little lowly. The others looked as if they had seen a ghost. Awesome. He dared to touch the head of an abyss-level Ghost King, and he looked like an elder. You grew up eating cow gall. At this time, the little lowly was also stunned. Look up. Just in time to meet Shen Jian's slightly excited eyes. Especially when Shen Jian put his hand on top of her head, she trembled. It seemed as if he would be attacked by the heavenly spirit in the next second. Damn it! The way you are now, aren't you just a complete weirdo? Is there anyone weirder than you? In chaos. Shen Jian said hello to the middle-aged man next door who was carrying a guitar bag. Uncle, you are quite like a relative of mine, but he was later dismembered by me with a chainsaw. Otherwise, I can introduce you to him. Middle-aged man. His stiff grimace suddenly darkened. Who are your dismembered relatives? You kid, if you can't speak, you can keep your mouth shut. If you don't speak, no one will treat you as mute. He looked at Shen Jian pitifully. It was as if he wanted to find out the details of Shen Jian. There were only 2 Abyss-level Ghost Kings in the coffee shop. The other Ghost Kings stayed far away from them. Not to mention saying hello to them, even if they looked at each other, they would subconsciously avoid it. Only Shen Jian. He said hello in a familiar manner. You have turned into a ghost and are still like this, buddy, your social cow is born with it. Just saying. Shen Jian pointed to the guitar bag that the man put on the ground and said, Uncle, what are you packing here? Why is water leaking out? The smell is a bit addictive. Could it be? Shen Jian was about to speak but stopped. The middle-aged man grinned, smiled sinisterly, looked at Shen Jian with a strange expression, and said in a sinister tone, Hey, guess, what good stuff is here? Could it be? Shen Jian said hesitantly, the juice from the canned herring leaked out? Uncle, I don't want to eat this, it will stink. Middle-aged man? Holy shit, canned herring. I look at you like a canned herring. His sinister smile froze on his face. He turned his back, not wanting to see Shen Jian again. He felt tired.